Sehr geehrte Frau Ashton, Ihre Aufgabe ist es jetzt, den Europäischen Auswärtigen Dienst aufzubauen. Sie haben bisher keine Erfahrung in klassischer nationaler Diplomatie, auch wenn Sie jetzt schon hier sehr diplomatisch geantwortet haben. Die EU hat keine diplomatische Tradition. Das kann man als Handicap sehen oder als Chance. Wir begreifen das als Chance, weil wir die EU von der nationalen diplomatischen Tradition des 19. Jahrhunderts befreien wollen und eine europäische Diplomatie des 21. Jahrhunderts begründen wollen. Das bedeutet für uns kein Schubladendenken, sondern politische Gesamtkonzepte, die Einbindung neuer Akteure wie der Zivilgesellschaft, modernes Konfliktmanagement. Deswegen steht für uns im Kern des Auswärtigen Dienstes ein Crisis Management und Peace Building Directorate. Hierzu müssen Sie uns ein originäres Angebot vorlegen. Und mich hat es schockiert, Sie haben mehrmals gesagt, dass der Auswärtige Dienst einen Added Value for Member States bringen soll. Meiner Meinung nach soll er einen Added Value for our Citizens bringen. Ihre ganze Perspektive ist für mich bis jetzt sehr Member State lastig und ich würde Sie gerne noch einmal auffordern, dazu Stellung zu beziehen. Und wir erwarten von Ihnen, dass Sie eine Vorlage für Januar bereiten, wie Herr Barroso das auch getan hat, mit Ihrer Vision für die europäische Rolle in der Welt und konkrete Projekte, die Sie vorantreiben wollen. Und wir warten auf Ihre Zusammenarbeit mit dem Europäischen Parlament. Ihre erste Stellungnahme schriftlich gestern freute sich auf die Zusammenarbeit mit dem Rat, der Kommission und den Mitgliedstaaten. Vom Europaparlament kein Wort. Für mich war das eine tragische Überraschung. Ich hoffe, Sie werden das in Zukunft ändern. Wir freuen uns trotzdem auf die Zusammenarbeit mit Ihnen. Sie haben einen Testfall vor Ihnen. Herzlichen Dank.
Thank you, President. Vice Chairman, you asked me, I think, made a very interesting analysis about the issues that create the circumstances of much of the illegal immigration that we see and the need for us in many of the things we do. It applies to what we were saying about the Atalanta work that we're doing. It applies in so many different aspects of our foreign policy to try and not only deal with the symptoms of the problem, but also to play our part in dealing with the issues that create the problem. And it's a very good way into my way of thinking, because for me it is about pulling together the different strands of what we do so that we are playing our part in trying to promote our values. And that means democracy and human rights. It means the opportunity for people to be able to live peacefully, to develop their economies, to send their children to school, to have and be everything that they wish to be. And that will be the framework that will govern how I will approach this work. And your analysis, in fact, gives me that opportunity to say that. Those basic propositions of decency and human rights and values must be the underpinning of all that we do. Doesn't mean that it's easy to translate that in all of our relationships, far from it. Some of them are extremely complicated and complex. And my avoidance of answers is not because I don't have views, but because it's very, very important that what I say to you is a considered opinion and not just a reaction. And having been only here for a day and a few hours, and however clever I might think I am at being able to read a briefing, what you want to hear from me is what I think. And what I think needs to be based upon the best information, the best knowledge, talking to the right people, and then giving you direct and straight answers. And that is what I will do. In terms of what you were saying about the Anhörung, about the violation of international law, I'm not quite sure I understood it, but on Cuba, Mr. de Gucht, I was noticing, Commissioner de Gucht was saying recently that things are moving. And that one of the things we will have to consider in the European Union is what does that mean. And that brings me to my second closing point, which is that situations are rarely static in the world. It's rarely as simple as the yes-no answer that perhaps occasionally people would wish me to give. And it's very important that as we see what things occur in the world and how the situations move, that we are referring back institutionally to the Commission, to the Council and to the Parliament to reflect on the changes that have taken place, whether that's the consequences of what's happened in Honduras, whether that's President Obama's statement on Afghanistan today, whatever it is, it creates a situation where we need to be able to consider and reflect on what our position should be, at times quite quickly, but always with the care and consideration of what it is we're trying to do. Mr. Cole, you asked me about whether I would be at the EU-Ukraine summit. I will not be there. Benita Ferrero-Waldner will be representing the Commission and, if you like, me. The reason is that I have a straightforward clash between that and my first opportunity to be at the NATO meeting and to meet with Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Because Benita is so able, it seemed to me that the best use of resources in that clash was for her to represent us at the summit and for me to take the opportunity to meet Secretary of State Clinton and with the Secretary General of NATO. But we will work, of course, together on that. There's much more to do in terms of our relationships with Russia and the implications of what President Sarkozy laid out last year. Much more to do as we look eastwards in determining our relationships with all of the countries, whether it is in the Western Balkans, the work we are doing in the Eastern Partnership and so on. And I am extraordinarily mindful of that. But when I came here today, as I said earlier, it was partly to hear from you. This is not my hearing. At my hearing, there will be much more considered policies. This is my first opportunity, which I relished, and I said to the chairman of the committee, I really wanted to do as quickly as this, not because I thought I could answer everything, but because I wanted to have the opportunity to do two things. One is to hear from you and to give you the answers that I could, and two, to let you know how important I think this Parliament is and how much I value that dialogue. It is by no means the last time you will see me. I expect to see you frequently, as often as I possibly can, and one of the challenges I have is how to make the diary for 5 years work, because actually there are so many competing interests. So the opportunity to do that is very important. In terms of the diplomatic tradition, Madam Brantner, and the added value to citizens, you are absolutely right. It is added value to citizens. My shorthand is to think of member states as countries with citizens, but you are right to ask me to use the word citizens, and I apologise. I should have done so throughout. It is, though, as you say, finding a new tradition, and it is a real opportunity with civil society, with others, to do things new. But I do not underestimate, and again it brings me to one of the last points I wanted to make, which is this is brand new. I do not have an office. I do not have a cabinet. I do not have a team already. I inherited, if you like, a blank piece of paper, and at the moment I have written one or two small things on it. I have made one or two appointments. I have thought about one or two ideas. I do not function from an office of a commissioner anymore. I function from working with my colleagues who helped me previously, who were also trying to continue with the trade agenda in their spare time, which was more than a full-time job, and to make new acquaintances across the road in the Council, where I spent quite a lot of yesterday with the Secretary General and with others. So I do not have anything except me and a little bit added on. And we are still working through that. It is not an excuse, it is just a reality that actually we are still trying to work out what the treaty means in terms of pulling a budget together. What does it mean in terms of the relationships with the rotating presidency? All of these things are brand new. So I can only say it is not really surprising if I cannot give you a coherent answer across. And maybe that is an advantage, because maybe it means, because I was not, if you like, expecting this to be mine of right, that I come to you with, in a sense, a blank piece of paper which I need your help to write on it. And in terms of the different things, Mr Lambsdorff, the specific answers in January, of course. January is a different experience. It may feel a bit like this one, but it is where we will have much greater opportunity to explore where I have got to, as opposed to what is largely the very, very beginning. But I will come and talk, and as I have already indicated, and I hope those parliamentarians who have worked with me before know that I will always seek to be able to talk with you. Mr Swoboda, you talked about a number of the key relationships with Russia, the United States. Very important. Pragmatism, I think, is going to be an essential element of that. Where to sit? Well, the reason I did not sit down when I came in was because I could not decide until I was ready for the podium. I knew wherever I sat, I would be, if you like, in trouble. I wish there was a third seat. What I had planned to do was to move between the two. But I am happy to be guided. I do not mind where I sit. What matters is how you view me, and how the Council views me and the Commission views me. This has never been done before. I intend to make it the best success I possibly can. Hold me to account as you wish. That's your right, and that's what democracy is about, and that's one of the values that is so essential. Work with me, please, to help me get it right. But as we look forward to the next while, it's not a daunting task, it's just a big task. And actually trying to create something that we are all proud of and feel has fulfilled all of those years of discussion and negotiation on what was first a constitution and then a treaty, and all the many hours I spent taking the treaty through my parliament when I was a UK minister, will not have been in vain if actually what I didn't expect to happen then is that we make this role everything that it could be. But I just say the final thing is I need your help to do it, and I very much look forward to that in the future.